So hey everyone, I am at today Pete's Coffee. They sold out of my morning glory muffins. That's okay. So I just got a little turkey bacon and cheese. Of course, I have my little snack. What is this? Soft baked almond flour bars. So I also always bring stuff with me. So today I had to come down for an interview, and I interviewed with a company that I applied to be a barista simply because, as I had explained before, I make more money with tips. Even though, well, for one, a lot of management positions, unless it's assistant manager or above, are hourly. So most shift management positions are hourly. And I quickly discovered at two of my previous jobs as a shift manager that the baristas, I make more money than me currently. I made more money as a barista and also as a server. So part of the reason why I decided I didn't want to be in management was for a number of reasons. One of the things is that everything falls on you. So if an employee calls out, guess who's staying late? Or something needs to be done, guess who's coming in early, if they are a good manager. And what I had noticed at the last two jobs that I had as a shift manager, the training is terrible. It's just non-existent. They say one thing in the interview, and when you get hired, that you're going to have X amount of training. It just doesn't happen. So obviously, every company runs different, and some have a more robust training program than others. I'd actually interviewed with a number of coffee shops and bakeries and cafes. So I became well aware of the different standards that each company has, its unique position in the marketplace, and what I feel is the best fit. So one of the things that I enjoy, as I always mention, is having options. Because if you don't have options in life and you're doing something outside of working for someone else, such as working for yourself, you have the ability to negotiate and to not settle. Well, I say that because a lot of times I'm willing to take an entry level or lower level position because of the flexibility that it offers me, because of the time constraints, the pressure, a variety of factors. And one of the things that stood out to me was that you got to get more bang for your buck. And so you want to do your research, as I always mention. I always read the reviews on the company itself. I do market research into who their competitors are, what their positioning is. But I also read the reviews from the employees, people that have actually worked for the company, what their experience has been. And then I go further into looking at that specific location, their reviews, and also from the employees as well. That gives me a good understanding, to a certain degree, of what I would be getting myself into. As I mentioned before, I do mystery shopping. So I always mystery shop the location before the interview without them knowing who I am. I appear as a customer and I check everything out. I check out the operations. Is the place clean? How are the staff? Are they happy? How are the customers? How is the interaction between the management and the team? These are very important. These are very telling things that you'll be able to make a proper conclusion about whether or not you want to proceed. A lot of times people think that when you're interviewing for a job, that it is all about what the company wants. No, it's actually what you bring to the table, and that is your leverage. That gives you the ability to, if you want to go further, go ahead for it. If you don't want to pursue it, don't. And trust your instincts. Let's say this. And I would come to this interview this morning. I felt like it was going to be a waste of my time. And it was. So first I'm going to say how I got to that conclusion, right? So, I had already noticed in reviews that there's customers are saying some of the management and some of the employees are rude, right? And then I read from the employees' perspectives that working for the company and for that particular location, that things were just, they demanded a lot of work without properly training or giving, that guidance and the way that management talked to the employees, because that's very important and very telling in and of itself. So I had an interview yesterday, and it went amazingly well. One of the things that I liked about the person that I met with, they're very personable. They understand the brand, they understand the concept, they good representative of why someone would want to work there. And I liked our interaction. I liked how he didn't waste my time. He asked me specific questions about my experience. And I was very candid about why I was seeking a better opportunity, what I would bring to the table, and why I was interested particularly in that opportunity. And I would tell you guys, it would not require any late nights. It wouldn't even require any weekends. So the whole life balance, yeah, it's built in. And I could tell from the way things were set up, from the way the customers interacted. Well, it's a corporate dining environment, so it's completely different, where people generally are more friendlier and happier to be there. And the employees seemed very happy. The operations were clean. People were very friendly. And so I could tell off the bat that this would be the ideal type of setting for me, based off what my needs were, and based off the interaction between the management there, the employees, and the reviews of the company. So I was very impressed in that regard. Am I holding out for that? Absolutely not. One of the things that I make absolutely clear in the interview is that yes, I do work for myself, and I do have my own company, and I have a variety of clients. There's no shortage of work. I stepped down from the position that I was recently doing on Mother's Day, which was Sunday. And by Tuesday, I already had 15 events sign up. I already had 3 more clients, 3 more accounts, and I work as an account executive for. So I was like, okay, this is perfect. And the reason why is because there's no rush for me to go out and work for somebody else, nor is there a huge need for me to put up bullshit. And so it just so happens that throughout the week, I'm literally booked until the middle of June. And here it is, the middle of May. That's how much work is out there, and that's how many options that I have. And so far, things have been going well. Fingers crossed, we hope that it continues that trajectory, right? But what I'm saying is that I'm confident. I already know what my skills are. I already know what I'm capable of and what the options are. It's just sometimes it's good to see what's on the other side, so to speak. And I told him, I said, I work for myself. I currently have a lot of work. I have more work than I probably need. However, this is what I'm looking for. And this is what I'm seeking. That work-life balance, having a family, not working those late nights, not working those weekends. Quality of life needs everything. Being supported in the workplace and not being rushed or overwhelmed because the company's not doing well or not training people, or people are not coming into work. High absenteeism. I don't want to deal with that. High turnover. I'm constantly having to train people. It all depends on the work environment, obviously. So if they call me, they call me. If they don't, guess what? I have things to do. So back to the second interview that I had today, that I just recently had. They had actually reached out to me a couple weeks ago while I was working, and so I didn't see the message. I said, all right, let me follow up with them. So I thought it was worth it, because that's what I like to do, and that's what I want to do. I like the hours. You're not working late at night, it's worse than you shouldn't be. But the thing is, I want to do something that's fun, that's flexible, and I'm getting ready to apply to law school. Absolutely. These experiences that I've had in the workplace have prompted me to go to law school. It's something that I've always wanted to do, something that I was on track to do, and I'll share this with you. It wasn't until I was sabotaged in my federal career by lawyers that it turned me off. I actually won. I actually wiped the floor with them. They went to Harvard and Yale, and they completely underestimated their opponent. So that was a learning lesson in and of itself many, many years ago about what you will deal with, what you won't. And the reason why I was very effective in pursuing my claim But I was able to just start working for myself. And that's when I became introduced to being a brand ambassador, being an account executive, being a marketing manager, being a project manager, being a lot of things in management, managing events, managing staff, and generating income. I did housekeeping, I did bartending, I did serving, I did babysitting, you name it, yeah. And so that gave me options. And also, that's when I decided to go to school and get my MBA, because I was going to apply to law school at that time. The whole point was me working in the Office of the Chief Counsel was to have that experience, and having such a negative experience, particularly by attorneys. I don't know if you guys ever worked for attorneys or doctors, but it could either be the greatest experience or the worst experience. It all depends on how they treat you and talk to you and how they manage stress. So, with that being said, I decided to focus on business. My undergrad is actually in business and law, so it's really easy for me to diversify. I've actually considered going back to being a paralegal and doing consulting work for law firms. You know, so I decided, okay, let me just see what they have to offer. There's nothing wrong with seeing what a company can do for you, or what you can do for them in that sense. Let's see if it's a good fit. So I responded back that, you know, I have been actually working. I am able to come in for an interview if they were still looking for people. And I signed up for an interview. I then get a call, so my interview had already been set up. I get a call from their corporate office in New York, and they're basically saying, hey, we noticed that you applied for barista. We want you as a shift manager. I'm like, here we go again with this shit. Because that's not what I applied for. That's not what I want. But if you're willing to offer it to me, at the very least, I'll consider it. You know, and my little chai, what's my chai? Matcha. So I have a matcha latte with my little milk. So it's an easy way for me to, you know, kind of see how things will play out. So that's when I started doing the research, right? I just had a feeling that, you know what, looking at their concepts and everything, I'm like, I'm light years beyond this. And, you know, unless they're going to offer a good rate, it's not going to be worth my time. So it turns out that the rate that they offer for baristas is pretty decent. But then when I asked them questions about tipping, they haven't worked that out yet. So you guys accept cash and you accept credit cards, but you're not having tips for the barista? Something for me to consider, right? I don't know if you guys know, but being a bartender, being a server, you know how much money you can make if, you know, you're professional, if you're good, and you work for a well-run establishment. I've worked as a server and a bartender for different places to where the operations were so chaotic. And I was like, I cannot take this gamble of my money being impacted by other people. So for example, you work in a restaurant, if the kitchen doesn't execute properly, if it's cold, if it doesn't get to you on time, who do you think they take it out on? The server and the service tips. With being a bartender, to me, it all depends on the environment that you work in. I would never work at a club. I would never work in areas to where there's like literally hundreds of people milling around you, clamoring for drinks. No, too chaotic. So when I did do bartending, it was at private events, at galas, at catering events, hotels. And I love that. You know how nice people are when they're traveling at hotels? You know, easy money, good money, better tips, better quality tips, and better quality of customers. Because let's be honest, sometimes working, interfacing with customers can be stressful. Especially when the line is out the door, especially when there's not enough people. And this seems to be a trending issue with a lot of restaurant or cafe-based opportunities. Being short-staffed. These were some of the things that were mentioned in the employee reviews, right? So that was a good indication of whether or not this is going to be a good fit. And I noticed they weren't that busy, which was shocking to me, given their location and what they offer. And one of the managers that I met with, you know, she said that, you know, sales haven't been the best. So that's a red flag to me right there. Because even though they say 40 hours, it may be less. That's what I've experienced with companies, or it may be a lot more, which I've also experienced. I don't want to work 12, 13 hours a day anymore. No, unless I'm going to be doing that for myself and for my own endeavors. So I got to the store early, right? The location. The store was clean. The staff seemed happy to be there. And I could quickly identify who's the manager and what they were, what their level of engagement was and how busy they were. So I was there like literally half an hour early just to kind of get a good feel of this. And I liked what I saw. So I met with her, and she was very professional. She had a lot of passion, a lot of enthusiasm. It's very important that whoever is interviewing people, that they have the time and the focus to prepare themselves to interact. Instead of asking those generic questions that everybody asks, and to give you an impression of how long they've been with the company. Do they enjoy it? That's very important. Two of the companies that I had worked for, where the training was just terrible, the person that hired me was actually leaving. So that's a telltale sign. Obviously, people change jobs for a variety of reasons, right? You know this. But if you're hiring me and you don't seem happy about the company, or you're leaving the company and it doesn't seem as though, there's basically people are leaving because they're not happy. And that was the impression I had got from those other hiring managers. And that was a red flag, and I should have ran away at that point, but I didn't. So in this experience, she was great and told me, hey, he's gonna, the next manager will meet with you. They'll either call you or they'll email you. No problem. Well, I decided I wanted to try out the food. I've already had the food before, but just to see how it would be. And I explained that I was a customer of the brand, So I sat down for about an hour. They comped me a little coffee, a little croissant. That was great. I started doing work for my events because I have an event tomorrow and Saturday. This guy comes out of nowhere. It's like, hey. And I'm like, hello. And they knew my name. So I'm like, okay. It's like, well, can we meet? I'm thinking he clearly sees I'm in the middle of something. I did not expect to be meeting with him at that point, but if I'm here and if he's ready to meet, no problem. So I could already tell in the conversation, well, for one, he wasn't prepared. My email was sent in advance to him and the other manager. When I came in, I had my tablet ready in case they didn't have access to it, so that way I could show them. She had it ready. She was prepared. She had reviewed my resume. So she didn't waste time asking me questions that were clearly answered on my resume. This guy did not have my resume. And he's like, oh, okay, let me go look it up. Let me go get it. He couldn't look it up on his phone. No problem. So he comes back with it. And he's looking at like literally the third page of my resume. Oh, so I see you haven't had much experience recently. And I'm like, sir, please scroll up. And then he looks at the top. And just the questions that he asked were so generic. Like, okay, tell me about your 3 best strengths. So I named them. Being articulate, being able to manage my time. And he interrupts me, which is not a good look right there, to interrupt someone while they're answering a question. And says, oh, I don't feel that time management is a good attribute because it's already expected. Like, you're expected to show up on time. And I said, have you not had experience with people who don't show up on time? With people who call in or late? Variety of things. He's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, wow, that's part of the reason why I focus on my time management, because not only do I come early, I anticipate things and I'm able to step in when necessary. And during the shift, I manage my time well to make sure that all deadlines are met and that people have the support that they need to do the job that they've been hired to do. So then, well, lucky me, he lets me continue. And I said, being an effective team player to me means that you have the proper training to do everything and that you are given the ability. And I explained some of my frustration with previous companies. Being told that I was going to be given training and opportunities just didn't happen. Being stuck doing everybody else's job in addition to my job as a manager. So we then talked about my business and what I do specifically, and how if I were to give that up, I would need a firm commitment from the company, obviously in writing, that here are the training standards, here's what's expected of me, so that way I know that this is a for sure thing, right? because they want open, most of these companies want open availability. They want you to just be at their beck and call, so to speak. And, I'm the type of person, what if it doesn't work out? I want to have a backup plan. I like to have other stuff that I'm doing outside. It fulfills me as a person. It helps me grow professionally, and it keeps my options open. I can easily walk away from a bad situation and not think twice about it. And most of these places are not used to that. They're used to people who just really need a job, or that's all the skills that they have, or no, not the case with me. I also mentioned, again, how I didn't place my MBA on my resume. I don't want to be considered as being overqualified, and personally, I didn't say this, but I didn't want to intimidate anyone. Because can you imagine somebody that's in a higher position than you, and you have more education and experience than them? They either love you or they hate you. Choose which one. So I could tell that this guy was not prepared, not professional, not focused. And he definitely came off as one of those people who act like they know everything. And they don't know jack shit. And you can tell that very quickly when I explain all the experience I have between scheduling, labor hours, reducing waste, managing a team, meeting budget, doing catering, setting priorities, increasing sales, increasing marketing, doing promotion of a brand, paying attention to the reviews, a variety of things. And so, let's see. He asked me to name 3 weaknesses. And that's kind of, touch and go because of the simple fact, what one person may view as a weakness is different. So it's annoying as fuck when somebody tries to overtalk you, which this guy did, interrupt you, which this guy did, and then try to correct how you feel or what you stated, something. He's very argumentative. Like, if I say that time management is a skill, it's a skill, which it is. And trying to argue with me about that, I can tell that this guy's got a complex, an ego problem. I don't have time for that shit. I don't have to deal with that. So, back to the weaknesses. I said, well, I guess I could say something that we want to work on with the company. And I said, well, I think being frustrated when things do not go according to plan in terms of what is being offered to me. And I mentioned training, that the expectations are there. And when these things don't happen, I'm a communicator. I sit down with people, I talk to them in privately, not in front of people, to have some kind of conversation as to why things are the way that they are, how they can be improved, and what we can do to work together. So when I named that, he said, okay, any others? I said, I really can't think of any others. He literally said out of his mouth, oh, so you're perfect, huh? I said, excuse me? Oh, so you're perfect. And I was like, nobody's perfect. But you asked me about 3 weaknesses, and I can only name 1. I'm thinking in my head, same asshole who asked me about 3 attributes and tries to cut me off and overtalk me. So I could tell clearly that this conversation was leading nowhere. Why would I give up what I'm already doing? I'm already making more money than what they would pay me. See, that's one of the things that I realized with being in shift management, or even an assistant manager, right? Where it's salaried. I can make more money working part-time in a serving capacity such as a barista or server or bartender, and still have the rest of the time to work on my business, to go to school, to be with my family, my friends. Yeah, so that's why I'm not selling. And I don't want to work full-time for a company unless it's going to be Monday through Friday. I'm not doing weekends, because that takes up too much time. And the thing that I like about if I'm going back to traditional 9 to 5, well, then I still have my evenings free and I still have my weekends free to continue work for other companies. It's great to have something else to fall back on. That is the name of the game. So he tells me, oh, I don't think you have enough management experience. And I had to laugh in his face because I could tell he was a bunch of bullshit. Now, even if he felt that that was the case, right? That's fine. I'm not arguing with you about that thing for a time. But what I told him, I said, look, I have to be honest with you. I'm not interested in pursuing this any further, and I'm going to tell you why. I said my interaction with the first manager was amazing. Her enthusiasm, her passion. With you, however, there's a lot to be desired. How unprofessional you are. Thank you. Have a great day. Right? So normally you would just leave it at that and walk off. But this is an opportunity to educate the company, especially because my interview had been set up through the corporate office. And it was the corporate office. Let me get back to a very good point. So when I asked him, okay, so you don't feel that I have any management experience, after explaining all the management experience that I have. Is there a specific requirement for this job? Because one of the things I always do is I read the job description. I do not apply for jobs where I don't meet the qualifications. Or I can, like in the government or the military, say you don't have the professional experience, but you have a degree. You can substitute some of that requirement. This is not the case. I definitely read the job advertisement. Did not require a specific amount of management experience. And the reason why a lot of companies do that, especially as a shift manager, right? It's an entry-level management position. It's because even though you may have an MBA or a world of experience, extensive external experience, you would still have to learn the way that the company operates and that the company does things. And so you're still going to be trained. That's paramount. So when a lot of times when they don't want to hire someone, they'll say, well, you just don't have the experience. And so I asked specific questions. Is there a requirement? He refused to answer the question because he couldn't answer the question because he knew there isn't a specific requirement, and that even the little requirements that they had already superseded that, right? Now there's also the opportunity, because it's like, oh, I like your personality, I like how you, all these things, right? There's the opportunity to say, hey, I know that you originally applied, and I explained that I originally applied for barista. It was recommended by the corporate office that I seek the management, and this happens to me a lot. I'll apply for the entry level, and then they'll want to offer me something higher, and then I'll just, consider it. And so, there was an opportunity. He could have said, well, you know what? I like to just bring you on as a barista. Or, I would feel more comfortable with being a barista. Whatever the case may be. But based on how this guy interacted with me, talked to me, was condescending, over-talked me, interrupt me, tried to correct what I was feeling, and just poor representation. So I felt the need to email back and give my experience, my feedback. Hey, I want to let you know that I had a great time this morning with XYZ and this manager. And however, I had to walk out of the interview, and I'm no longer interested in this company based off how I was treated and talked to. Here's why. Companies need to know. Why? Because a lot of times, interviewing in a sense is gatekeeping. So this is not my first rodeo in terms of being talked down to or seeing inappropriate behavior or seeing how someone would speak to me if I were hired, right? It's a good indication this is not for me. Absolutely not. But what I don't want to have happen is that somebody else go through that experience, because corporate, they don't see that. They don't get that. They'll probably just be told it didn't work out. She didn't have this experience. I'll take that call later, or that kind of experience. And it also makes the person that is doing the bad behavior aware of it. That, look, what you did is not okay, and it should not be. This is how you interview people. I only feel for the people that have to work for you and report to you. Oh my God. So that's that. But really, you should have trusted my instinct this morning. I didn't feel like coming down because I just knew. You know how that feels? Like, they're gonna waste my time. And what I'm already doing, I'm successful at it. And I enjoy it. So, my advice to you that when you're searching for a job, look at things you can do on the side, gig work, whatever, and work for yourself. So that way, you're not pressured. You're very relaxed. You're not in a rush. So if a job says, oh, well, it may take a few weeks to get back to you, no problem. And I let companies know I'm actively interviewing, and I let them know I'm interviewing with their competitors. How bad do you want me to work for you? That's something you're going to have to decide for yourself. But there are other offers on the table. There are other opportunities. And I like to hear back from you as soon as possible. And I specifically tell them then and there whether or not I'm interested in proceeding further. See, you have that ability as the interviewee to let me know if you want to proceed or not. And he was shocked. He was actually shocked that, I told him, not only will I not be proceeding further with this company, it is because of you and your interaction. It's called accountability. And things won't change if people are not told. And I said, it's kind of like the same thing with me. I'm open to feedback. If somebody tells me something that could be changed or improved, I'm willing to listen to them. I'm willing to work with them in that regard. And this touches back on to what I had made the videos about before, knowing that I'm too professional to be in some of these settings, that I need to be back in professional settings because that's where I got my experience at a corporate level. And so coming down at the store levels is dramatically different, and seeing how standards are not being followed or implemented, things of that nature. So I'm not wasting my time. I have too many opportunities. I actually had a call that was coming in. I'm going to have to call them back about how I want to proceed with different options. And what I find is that, working as an account executive for other companies, they treat me much better. They definitely treat me with respect. They value me. They tell me so. They show me so. And I don't have any issue getting paid. That's why I kind of love it. And so that has been the backbone as to why when things haven't worked out with a company, or I see that I'm not being treated fairly, or that there's no potential whatsoever, I leave. And I can do so. And I don't have to worry about the financial obligations, the strains, which is why a lot of people don't leave dead-end jobs or when things are not going well, or they take mistreatment because they want to keep their job, because they feel that that's all that they have. I actually had a really good conversation last night with a friend of mine who's actually a licensed therapist. And one thing that I will tell you is that there's nothing wrong with therapy. Why? It gives you an unbiased approach to whatever it is that you're going through. So if your company offers an employee assistance plan and you're having any issues in the workplace, I highly recommend that you take advantage of that. And also, having gone through what I've recently gone through with toxic work environments and now having to involve EEOC, it can be a little stressful. It can play on your psyche. I refuse to let anything stop me from what I want to do. You know how many times somebody's told me, you can't do that, you don't know how to do that. And I said to them, how the fuck do you know? You know shit. And that's why I'm able to be persistent. So life is not always going to be perfect. I am not one of those people who come online and start telling you that, oh, my life is perfect, everything is great. No, I discuss real life issues that occur, especially in the workplace, because one, I know I'm not the only person, and two, to give insight as to how to deal with some of these issues and manage your career. You have to take control of your career. Do not let a job tell you what you can and can't do in terms of how far you can go. So it was kind of refreshing to talk with the guy yesterday that interviewed me, who said, he made a lot of career transitions for the same reason. And that people laughed at him, told him he would fail, but look at him now. And I could tell that he's happy in his position, and he loves it. He's like, I would never go back. I'm like, give me 5 right there, because I totally understand that. And I can totally relate to that, not having the best work experience from a company, but not letting that stop you. So I have things to do. I have to get ready for this weekend, and I have to get ready for the next 3 weeks where I will be non-stop working and traveling. So yesterday was a good opportunity for me to book my hotels, figure out my travel plans, the whole night. Back to this tonight and tomorrow, studying. When I represent these brands, I have to know what I'm talking about, for one, and to know that you got to study. So it is a lot that kind of goes into it, but I like the experience. And I can work less hours and get more per hour and deal with less chaoticness, you know? So, pray for me, y'all. Seriously. Because a lot of times when you are being attacked, it is spiritually based. That's a fact. But you can't let that stop you. You know, there are going to be people who are going to try to prevent you from being happy because they're not happy. Don't be like that. And don't put up with that. Know your options. So now that I know that there are other opportunities, I'm going to go back to corporate and find dining. I'm actually going to go back to working in the corporate field because that's really part of the reason why I stepped away from corporate offices was because I didn't like how out of touch they were with the actual businesses, right? But then having worked in field operations and having seen how chaotic things were and how standards are not being implemented, it's needed. And one of the things that I was highly effective in the corporate world with doing was going to businesses, figuring out what the issues were, figuring out how to resolve them, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat, SWOT analysis. And I missed that. And then working with the corporate office to ensure that what's being done on the store level matches their expectations, that corporate understands these are the issues, whether they're operational, whether they're equipment, whatever the case may be. And then here is the corporate way of how they would like things done. So bringing all those stakeholders together and working. That's why I've been very successful as a county executive, as a brand ambassador, as a mystery shopper, as a consultant in and of itself. So I like the fact that I got time on my hands. I have free time. Like I have the whole day to myself because I've already booked up enough work. I can just focus on fulfilling those work obligations and moving forward. So wish me well. Some of the companies are companies that I have already worked for in the past. I was able to reactivate my accounts and connect with them. And some of them are brand new. So I really take it seriously that if they have a lot of work, which they do, putting my best foot forward for sure. So that's that. Have a great day.